What's up, my friends? NFL Thursday Night Football. We're back. And I'm going to cover all the betting angles for not just the game, but every single player prop we can look at for all the players. Cowboys at the Eagles. Let's go. Bam! There it is. You're looking at it. Got underdog here on the left, and I'm using MySmartReEdge.com mobile view on the right. We're going to research every single player, all of their projections, and my face will be down here. Do you see me now? Yeah, let's give you a nice big view of the screen. Let's make an entry or 2 or 3 or 10. I'm sure some of you are looking at this like, what? A single rushing yards for Saquon and you can cash out? Well, this is exclusive to underdog users who use promo code DONUTS, DONUTS. That link is down below. All right, let's get to it. Jaylen Hurts, first up. All sorts of projections here that are actually interesting to me. And again, don't forget, I'm going to cover the game analysis after we look at some player prop. And I'll show you the entries at the end. Stick around. The first projection I'm actually intrigued to look at for him is going to be his rushing yard. Now, to close out the season, he actually had 37 plus rushing yards in 8 out of the last 9 games. On top of that, the Cowboys just traded away Micah Parsons, one of the best threats off the edge in the NFL. I think Jaylen Hurts is going to have a field day through the air and on the ground. It's absolutely a Jaylen Hurts week 1, in my opinion. I think a lot of people are looking at Saquon, which we will too, but I think Jaylen's the answer. I like his rushing yards. And because this is going to be a larger entry, let's go ahead and look at his lower projections. I'm going to go up here at 24.5, and I'm going to show you why here in a hot second. And there it is. And up on the screen, I'm showing you my favorite projection pieces for week 1. Essentially, I went back and I looked at 2024 and how they closed out the season. I looked at some of their opening projections and I said to myself, these players are in really projectable roles for their teams. At these projections, they were able to hit in over 90% of their games to close out the year. I posted this to Discord a couple hours ago. VIPs get fed early. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to go to Jaylen Hurts. I'm going to put this at 25 plus, and you'll see he actually had 25 plus in 9 straight games. Matter of fact, he had 29. Honestly, if you want to run this up to 29.5 for the lower projection at a 0.8 multiplier on underdog, I don't mind it whatsoever. On the season, he ended up having 25 plus, my friends, in 13 of 15. But if we put it up here at 29.5, we see that he actually averaged 42 yards per game and had 30 plus rushing yards in 11 of 15 games. Not bad at all. Now, Saquon, of course, we're going to talk about him. Listen, if you've already used the free square here because you use code DONUTS, DONUTS on Underdog, the best pick'em platform on the planet, gives out the most bonuses, discounts, free squares. Literally no other app gives this much value. I absolutely love Underdog. Best ball drafts, pick 'em. It's a goated site. Saquon Barkley, my favorite projection for the week, is right here. It's his longest rush, 19.5. It's an absolute cheat code. On any given touch, Saquon Barkley and his massive workload, so many rushing attempts every week, can literally bust loose on any given carry. He's got a great offense, great offensive line. I love this original projection at 19.5. The next one down at 14.5 is even better. Of course, you're paying a lower multiplier for that one. But on the season, of course, he did have a 15-plus yard rush in 13 of 16 games. I think that's a fine option. Next up, we get A.J. Brown on primetime, baby. And I love A.J. Brown on primetime games. I think if you roll out any A.J. Brown projections for Thursday Night Football, the play is probably to look at the 71.5 receiving yards. But I'm going to be honest, there's other plays I love in this game, especially on the Cowboys side. So for me, this one is one of those that I'm just going to shove to the side and move along. Here's what I actually really like. It's going to be Devonta Smith. I've always loved the way he runs his routes. He's one of the most crisp route runners in the NFL. I love taking his receiving yards very often. Now, last season, we saw him start off red hot, racking up 84, 76, 79, and 64 receiving yards. The receptions were quite high, 7, 7, 7. And then we saw kind of this precipitous drop-off right in the middle of the season. Then the playoffs rolled around. I'm looking at his playoff stat, and he had 4, 4, and 4 receptions in those 3 games. And the receiving yards was tricky. At 55, 21, and 45, was getting a lot of short targets. Dot went way down in the playoffs. That's average depth of target. Now, we're back to 2025 regular season, and I'm not too concerned about playoff history. I'm not too concerned about his role in the offense. He's literally the 1B in the passing game. He's going to get a decent amount of targets and opportunity. He's got great hands. And I think he might actually be a guy who probably ends up with a similar target share as A.J. Brown this year, believe it or not. A.J. definitely has the big play ability, gets down the field, longer receptions, more yards, more touchdowns. But I think that Devonta can be a, fantasy football term, a PPR machine. I could see him getting 5-6 catches per game this year. So for me, my favorite play here would be the 4.5 receptions higher. Now, these are very much just my leans for the game. I will be posting a VIP entry later this week, probably Thursday, when I get a greater read on things, but hopefully this is a helpful video. Let's keep going. There's more players here we need to look at. Dallas Goedert made some splashes last season, and then he disappeared for long stretches as well. So let's go ahead and see if we can find anything there on his projections to see if there's something that we can take against Dallas. He played against them last November, had himself a wonderful playoff stretch, really was leaned on heavily. You can see the 4, 4, and 7 reception. And this is actually something that I do put some value behind. When the games mattered and when he was healthy again, as he missed part of the season with injuries, Dallas Goedert was leaned on heavily. Now, here's the problem here. I like his 3.5 reception projection, but it was just removed as I was making this video. It's no longer there. It was, but now it's not, and it makes me sad. So I'm going to tell you, if the 3.5 pops back up, I would actually prefer Dallas Goedert at 3.5 receptions higher, be over Devonta Smith. But since he was removed, let's move on. All right, we're going to look at the Dallas Cowboys players right now. I'm going to give you the entry at the end, and on top of that, I'll drop the link for it down below. Who loves you, baby? Do me a huge favor. Stick around for the entry. Stick around for the game analysis at the end. And if you're enjoying the flow of today's video, subscribe to the channel and like the video. I help you, you help me. All right, let's move on. Dak Prescott back healthy, surrounded by wide receivers. George Pickens added to the offense. I actually think there's a lot to like here for Dak this season. A couple years removed from 4,900 passing yards. Not like he can't get there, and he's got the offensive weapons around him to get there again, partially because I think the running game is going to be miserable. I think he's going to chuck the ball, potentially, if he stays healthy, the most pass attempts in the NFL. I think he's got a shot at finishing as the league leader in passing yards this season. George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is quite the 1-2 tandem. All right, so hear this. Do what you want with it. I think it's really interesting information. Last season, once the Eagles were really humming along, their offense was scoring a ton of points. Other teams had to start throwing the football a ton to come back in games. Once that occurred, 8 out of the last 12 QBs to go against them, and that does include the playoffs, had higher on their pass attempts projection. So at 36.5 pass attempts, yeah, it's a higher one, but I think he has a decent shot here to just be heaving the ball all game long. So if we're going to be running anything out there for Dak, it's going to be the pass attempts or potentially the longest completion. But I got another longest completion projection I want to talk about for one of the wide receivers, if not both. And let's go with pass attempts and the pure volume right here. And real quick, we're going to breeze by them because I don't want to put anything on any of these Dallas Cowboy running backs. Javonte Williams should get the largest snap share in week 1 for whatever that is worth. He has flashed in the past way back as a rookie. Don't entirely know what we're going to get out of him at this stage. I think this is year 5 for him. It's kind of fallen off a cliff last couple of years. Regardless, I don't like the running backs at all in this game for the Cowboys. Let's move on. We're going to talk about my boy, CeeDee Lamb, baby. That's right. He's a touchdown magnet. And I think getting Dak Prescott back means we could probably start looking at his touchdown projections week in and week out. And I love the fact that George Pickens is on the other side because defenses can no longer double team bracket coverage CD because if they do, Pickens is getting down the field deep and he's going to make them pay. One of the best ways to run out CeeDee Lamb this week but would be to look at his receptions. He's had 6+, specifically 6+ receptions, 10 in the last 12 games. That was with different quarterbacks. We could look at his receiving yards. We could look at his longest reception, and that is where I ended up for this one. I think because we're going to get Dak Prescott likely playing from behind on the road in week 1 in Philadelphia against the defending Super Bowl champs, I think that Dak Prescott is going to heave the ball a bunch. And if that happens and we're looking at some higher pass volume, and that's kind of low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, 23.5 was a projection that he was absolutely dominating last season through the first 7 games with Dak Prescott. Then Dak got hurt. He was out. And what happened? Well, kind of had a precipitous drop-off there for 5 or 6 games. Rebounded a bit towards the end of the season, but still was not a good spot to be targeting. I love the fact that Dak is back. I love that George Pickens is there, and I think CeeDee Lamb shows off. And it reminds people that in 2023, he finished 50 yards behind Tyreek Hill as the NFL's leading receiver. He finished with 1,749 yards. He's going to remind them this season if Dak is healthy. Welcome George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, George Pickens had himself an up and down season, highlighted by catch after catch that he should not have been able to make, really showing off the fact that he's elite. And he really struggled with the quarterback play back there with Russell Wilson and then Justin Fields. Receptions were low. His yardage was up and then it was down. He had some big games mixed in there. But where did he thrive the most? It was big play after big play. And he's going to do that for the Cowboys this year for a team that might throw the ball 38, 39 times a game, that won't be able to run the ball, and could be playing from behind against teams like they might be here in week 1. And if we're getting that pass volume, I'm just looking at the correlation game at this point. I think George Pickens, I think CeeDee Lamb, if we're getting 40 pass attempts or so from Dak Prescott playing from behind, I think they both have a chance at the longest reception projection on Underdog. Now, if you don't want to run out longest reception for both players, I think you got to run with the longest reception for George Pickens and the receiving yards for CeeDee Lamb. So that's up to you. But again, I'm just trying to highlight my favorites on this entire Underdog Thursday night game, and they're all going right here in the bank. Last but not least, let's talk about Jake Ferguson for the Dallas Cowboys. He is the last player I even want to mention for both teams. And then we're going to go look at the games, and I'm going to talk about some of the angles for that. Now, Jake Ferguson, I think, is going to kind of end up being like the odd man out. He's a decent tight end who can put up some stats. He's got some downfield ability. He's a big body who doesn't score. Good luck. Where's he going to be providing the fantasy points when George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are literally just going to be taking over? So because of that, there's no real projection here that I like for him. I think the receiving yards at 33.5 is a little too high, and I'm probably going to run that out. But I also think, and I alluded to it, I think that fantasy points could also be an interesting play, taking lower at 7.25. I think he would essentially need a touchdown to hit higher than 7.25. If he does score that touchdown, well, then this is probably absolutely cooked. He could still score a touchdown, finish with 3 catches for 30 yards, and the lower 33.5 receiving yards would cash you out. Let's do a quick recap. So, Saquon Barkley, of course, I hope you are taking the gimme pick. You have to use code DONUTS, DONUTS, when you sign up on Underdog to get it. If you have already used it, Saquon Barkley, higher than 19.5 longest rush. Jaylen Hurts, higher than 29.5 rushing yards. Devonta Smith, higher 4.5 receptions. Dak Prescott, higher 36.5 pass attempt. CeeDee Lamb, higher 23.5 longest reception. Or, of course, you could go with the receiving yards if you're also running out George Pickens at longest reception of 22.5, higher. And then last but not least, Jake Ferguson, lower than 33.5 receiving yards. Now, do what you want with this information here. We've got a 42x flex play. Break it down however you want. Use it how you want. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you want a little extra help, there's 15 plus premium channels, all sorts of projections and models, picks, entries, everything you want. That link is the Donuts Picks link down below. It's going to be the first link in the description. If you want access to the website I was showing you today and the game models I'm about to show you, you can grab those via mysburyedge.com. Use code NFL. That's right, promo code NFL for an exclusive discount on both products. All right, Thursday Night Football. Let's talk about the game angles and the types of bets that we can make. First off, last season, here are the results of the models in 2024. Here are the results of the models in 2023. You saw some things got a little better. Some things got a little worse. No matter what, though, you're going to be in a good spot here to potentially make some money no matter what you're looking at. So, NFL Week 1, Thursday Night Football. I'll share this one photo for this game. 10,000 simulations for this game. Here were the results. The model likes the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. The model likes the Cowboys to stay close enough and cover plus 7.5 points on the spread. And for the total, the model actually likes under 47.5 points. If you're feeling frisky, you can see that on Thursday Night Football, the line for Dallas has actually moved from 7.5 to 8.5, so that would be even better. So you could run out the spread to cover. You could run the Philly money line and then take the under 47.5. Now, depending on whatever book you use, you should be able to have some type of Thursday Night Football boost and run out the 10,000 simulations model single game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Totally up to you what you want to do. I will be honest with you. I actually really like all three of the model results after all 10,000 simulations. I do like each of those. I think the Cowboys could cover on the road in week 1. There's a little bit of a super letdown possibility there from the Eagles. You don't know. These guys come back and it's like, do they have the drive to get back to where they just were? And I think for the majority of players, yes, but it only takes a few that are not as driven to not play as well, lose focus of play or here. And then a guy like George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb that gets down the field, they score that one extra touchdown. Maybe it's in garbage time, and that ends up covering the 8.5 points. Do what you want with the information, my friends. I like each of the three angles for week 1, Thursday Night Football. You got a little nerves, first game, maybe the under hits, some sloppy play, and all of a sudden we got a 21-14 finish. All right, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I am here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're going to get 7 videos and live shows per week. If you like watching stuff on your cell phone, I'm also making almost a half dozen of those short videos per week for you as well. Tons of content right here. You just got to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, drop your comments down below. Tell me you missed me. Tell me what picks were terrible, or just tell me your favorites. I always like to hear what you like. No matter what, I appreciate you and thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't you miss out. Let's get paid.